a woman's world that we're living in.
I'll never forget a session we was all doing with Don Costa. And I started playing rhythm, and he stopped and he said, "Glenn, you got the lead there." And boy, I said, "Mr. Costa," I said, "I can't read notes." He said, "Well, you know the melody, don't you?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, that's the melody." I said, "Oh, okay, great."
He would ask Tedesco, "How does that figure go or this figure go?" You know,
right, exactly.
And then he would sit there and work it out, and we'd make the records, and it was always perfect.
Yeah, well, he had a certain thing that he offered that they wanted.
Wonderful ear and a wonderful facility on the instrument.
Glenn came up with great ideas. And his solos were just super. And then all of a sudden he's a singing star. Well, he always could sing. We used to kid him about, oh, he's standing up and singing now. He's going to be a big star. But he became a big star.
Well, it's knowing that your door is always open and your path is free to walk. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Glen Campbell.
I mixed actually the first record, that record that he made for Capitol. I mixed that record. And it was like a really surprise to see him come in and say, "I'm singing on this record, I'm going to," you know. And the record was a hit, and his vocal career was launched.
And when he got out and became a singing star, guess who he called to back him up?
That's right.
We were all there for him.
I remember Tedesco playing on, I forget what it was. He said, "You still talking to us peons?" I said, "Well, some of them." You know? But that was great having the guys do the sessions. You know, I knew who all the good players were.
Playing Wichita Lineman, it had a chord chart. I don't think it had any part written.
She came up with da-da-da-da-da, blah, you know. She said, "How about this for a kickoff on Wichita Lineman?" And she came up with that.
I am a lineman for the county.
Glen Campbell was a heck of a guitar player, and I had this Dano bass guitar that had special pickups and bridge and strings on it, and got a really great gutty sound, and he picked it up and did the solo on it. It was great. I heard Wichita Lineman at a drugstore one time, and it just brought tears to my eye because that tune meant a lot to me.
And I want you for all time. And the Wichita lineman is still on the line.
I did all that early Glen Campbell stuff, all of it, up to Southern Nights, when he changed producers, and I didn't do anymore. Glenn, by this time, was trying to record using his own band. I'm sitting in Martoni's one night there in Hollywood, and Steve Turner, his drummer, walked in. And he said, "You're not going to believe what just happened." "What?" And he said, "I'm just coming from a session with Glenn, and they're trying to get this kid to play some decent rhythm guitar." Glenn says, "Well, give me that big, full Al Casey sound." I said, "Does he know that I'm available tonight?" You know, but I understand he's trying to use his own band, but when stuff like that starts happening, that's a signal.
I think a lot of us felt this just might go on forever. And that was the first great shock for many of us who had setbacks in our careers and realized that, hey, this is an up-down thing.
Sports figures seem to have a 10-year period when it all happens for them. So what you get is you get the ramp up, you get 10 great years, and you get the ramp down. And the trick is to make the ramp down last as long as you possibly can.
Who would hire me at my age then to be in a rock group? They weren't doing that anymore, because now the rock guys were doing their stuff and writing, which they always did, but they were able to perform it.
As Dylan said, the times they are a-changing. It just changed. New game, new way of doing it.
I don't think it was a conscious decision that, you know, these musicians play a certain way, now we better get more contemporary. In my case, it had to do with the artist, or who the artist brought with him. In the case of Carole King, she brought a rhythm section with her. She brought James Taylor on guitar.
I think the bands learned to play. It was more important for the public to know that the bands were really playing the music.
You had these groups that came up in the late 60s and into the 70s. The Buffalo Springfield, that became Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And these were all self-contained groups that, for the most part, never used studio musicians. And those things became huge, and that's where album artists became really big.
Well, it had a huge effect, and, you know, the singer-songwriter acts became very important to people. They started wanting bands that played their own stuff. It really had an effect on the session musicians. I kind of left by then.
We all went into it knowing it could stop any second.
It was never meant to last. It was just this like magical bubble that just kind of blossomed for a second, hung there in the air. Hal plays on 7 records of the year in a row, 7 in a row, and then the bubble pops.
It's new people, it's a new regime. We came in at a certain time when we were all new. All the new people are coming in now when they are new, young, vibrant, playing today's sound.